up, guys? Just coming to you this morning with another mid-year top 10. Today we're going to be doing the 175-pound light heavyweight division. Very good and entertaining division right here that's only getting better and better. A lot of younger talent in there, and there's a lot of guys fighting on one promotion now. And it looks like there's also guys that are willing to fight each other and cross the street, as we've been calling it lately, and fight other promotions. So I'm going to get into that. Let's start with, we got 3 guys dropping out of the top 10. First and foremost, Adonis Superman Stevenson, the former longtime WBC light heavyweight champion. Finally, I'm dropping him out of my top 10. He never really officially retired, but I think it was because everybody just assumed that after the brain injury he had, him being in a coma and his age as well, because I believe he's 41, that, he'd be out. But I felt it was disrespectful to drop him out of my top 10 until he officially retired. Well, he didn't officially retire, but he did his first public speaking, and he said, pretty much, I'm not going to be the one in there, but I want to help kids, box and train and different things like that. So that kind of was a hint to me that, this guy's pretty much done. And respectfully, after all these months, it's been about 6 months since that injury and him losing his world title, I'm going to drop him out of my top 10 finally. But you know what? A hell of a career. I really got to hand it to Stevenson. He didn't always fight the guys that we wanted him to, but he has a couple very nice wins on his resume. And, and the way he fought against Volcik back in December was just, he fought like a true champion in a fight where I really thought he was going to get his ass whipped. And he fought really hard. And he showed to me that, damn, I wish him and Kovalev could have locked up, because I think that would have been a hell of a fight. They could have went either way. The next guy dropping out is Joe Smith Jr. He's a former world title challenger. He previously was tied for 10th. He just dropped out because other guys have done more and are ahead of him. So, he hasn't done much the last couple of years. He did fight for the world title back in March against Dimitri Bivol. He lost a one-sided 12-round decision. He did hurt Bivol in that fight, but he still lost by one-sided decision. Almost got stopped himself in the 12th round. But, no shame in that. He just got to work his way back in. There's still rumors and talks from Eddie Hearn that he's going to be facing Callum Johnson next, but nothing's been confirmed at that. But that would help his resume and getting back into the top 10. Also dropping out and still tied for 10th, or that was tied for 10th before, is Callum Johnson, former world title challenger. Again, just other guys in the top 10 that have done more than him, then that's why he's being bumped out. Johnson, again, he's speculated to be facing Joe Smith Jr. next, which is a big-time crossroads fight. It would really help his resume, but nothing's been confirmed. So hopefully we hear something soon and those 2 guys lock horns in the next 3 months before I do my next top 10. So now we're going to jump into the top 10. We start with number 10, and that is former world title challenger Sullivan Barrera. Well, Barrera pretty much was scrambling to try to find an opponent, and there was in talks of him fighting Beterbiev and Kovalev, but finally he ended up signing with Top Rank and then jumped into a fight with Jesse Hart, the former 2-time world title challenger. That fight all came together kind of last minute though, and they fought on Saturday, June 15th. He just couldn't keep up with Jesse Hart's pace. Jesse Hart's a younger fighter, and he's hungry. Jesse Hart was coming off a tough decision loss to Gilberto Ramirez, really wanted to prove himself, and he did that. And I just think it was too short of a notice for Barrera to jump in against an opponent that good. You got to hand him his props for showing that much balls, but he got hurt in the fight. I think he even took a knockdown. He did hurt Hart once early on, but just couldn't find any rhythm. And Jesse Hart just outworked him, got a 10-round decision. So tough loss for Barrera. He's hanging on to this 10th spot. Hopefully he gets back in there, though, and he plans his fight out better. He is with Top Rank, so he's open to facing pretty much anybody, and there's a lot of Top Rank fighters at 175. Next at number 9, still number 9, is the undefeated IBF champion, Artur Beterbiev. Beterbiev pretty much on paper scored the biggest win of his career on May 4th on ESPN. He fought for his first time under Top Rank. He was actually in Stockton. I wish I could have went to this fight, but Canelo was fighting that night. But he took on a guy they called Hot Rod, Radivoj Kaladzic, And a lot of people were calling upset. I thought Kolodzic could pull off the upset, but I did pick Beterbiev to win. But I didn't think he was going to dominate Hot Rod the way he did, and he absolutely kicked the shit out of Hot Rod. From start to finish, he just imposed his will, perfectly timed shots. He kept coming forward, scored a 5th-round TKO win. Nice win for Beterbiev. He wants Kovalev. I know Kovalev's in the mix for a possible shot with Canelo right now. He's also supposed to be making a mandatory if Canelo doesn't happen against Anthony Yarde. And that fight would probably take place in September the way it's looking. I don't think he's going to get Kovalev this year. I think he needs to set his sights on Alexander Volcik, the WBC champion, or one of these other contenders like Gilberto Ramirez or Jesse Hart if he wants to get a good top 10 opponent next. That's what he needs to do to move up the ladder at 175. So we'll see. But congrats on that win. Next at number 8 is Jesse Hart, the former 2-time world title challenger. Hart was originally scheduled to face Eliter Alvarez on June 15th on ESPN, and Alvarez had to pull out with an injury, and it was looking bleak for Hart. But then Sullivan Barrera signed with Top Rank and immediately jumped into that fight with Jesse Hart, and that's a big deal right there. I mean, because Barrera's a top 10 light heavyweight, and Jesse Hart was making his debut at light heavyweight, moving up to 175, a new weight class, because there wasn't a lot of fights at 168, not a lot of Top Rank guys there, and he pretty much fought the only guy he could with Gilberto Ramirez last December, and he also fought him twice. He lost a close unanimous decision the first time, and then in December he lost a close majority decision. I mean, 2 razor-thin losses. So he needed a new scenery. He moved up, and he got a very convincing 10-round unanimous decision over Sullivan Barrera, the veteran. And it was just a nice win for Hart. A good, he really put his name in the mix. I could see him facing Volcik. I could see him facing Artur Beterbiev next for a world title. I mean, it's kind of wide open. I definitely could see him getting the title shot next at 175, and I hope he does, because Jesse Hart's hungry, undefeated he's not undefeated, but he's a hungry American fighter, and his 2 losses are both to Gilberto Ramirez by very close decisions in title fights. So we'll see what happens next for him. Next at number 7, breaking into the top 10 at 175 is undefeated, now former super middleweight champion, Gilberto Ramirez. Ramirez moved up in April on the Lomachenko undercard on ESPN, and he dominated former world title challenger Tommy Karpency. He looked really big coming into that fight in his debut at light heavyweight. I mean, I think he came in between 100 and 180 and 190 that night, and he just pushed himself onto Karpency, and he was just, he's a grade above him. He dominated him. 4th-round TKO victory. It was a nice debut. There was talks about him possibly coming down to 168, but a lot of people didn't think that was possible with him, looking so big at light heavyweight. And about a month later, he vacated the WBO title and officially is at 175 now. I could see Ramirez getting a shot at Volcik or Beterbiev. He's currently number 2 in the WBC at light heavyweight right now. And Marcus Brown is going in another direction as of right now, who's the number 1 contender. So, yeah, I could see Ramirez getting a shot at Volcik later this year. Absolutely. I think it actually might happen, to be honest. So, we're going to see, and we're going to see how good he really is at 175. Next up at number 6 is former 2-division world champion Badou Jack. Jack just came out with the news that he could return in August, but I haven't heard anything about that. But he also said he could be fighting at cruiserweight in his next fight. I think that's somewhat likely because he's a Mayweather Promotions guy. I don't think they're going to work with Top Rank, who has most of the big names at 175. I think Top Rank would work with them, but he's coming off a loss to Marcus Brown where he got pretty much outboxed and outclassed in that one. I know he had a bad cut over his eye, but he was getting outboxed before that. He's an older fighter. I think cruiserweight's probably better suited for him if he can handle the punching power from the other fighters. But, in terms of getting opportunities and shots, throwing a guy like him in the mix up there would be a big deal. So, we'll see what happens. But I'm just hoping he comes back and at least gets his next fight announced before our next top 10. Next, and still number 5, is the undefeated WBA interim champion, Marcus Brown. Marcus Brown, he was supposed to come back at the end of this month, June, and take on veteran former world champion Jean Pascal. But he decided to, for some reason, that fight got pushed back to August 3rd. And it will be, I think it's still going to be on a Showtime card or a Fox card. So he has that one locked in stone. The only thing is he just got arrested for I think his 4th domestic violence charge in the last, 2 years. So I don't know what's going on with this guy at home, but he's fucking up because he really has a lot of opportunity. He got his career best win this past year. He got his career best win on shit, I'm drawing a blank here, guys. I'm sorry. He got his career best win in January, and he dominated Badu Jack. So it's kind of surprising that this guy is letting his fucking personal life spiral out of control because he has opportunities. There was talks about him fighting Dimitri Bivol for the WBA title. He's also the WBC's mandatory against Alexander Volcik. So he has a clear opportunity at 2 world titles if he can get his head out of his ass with his personal problems. But I don't know. Some guys just can't handle it. So we'll see what happens with him. But I'm predicting him to dominate Pascal, score a late stoppage or a unanimous decision, and stay the interim champion if that fight still happens. Next, in still number 4, is the undefeated WBA light heavyweight champion Dimitri Bivol. No news on what he's doing next. He hasn't fought since March, since he dominated Joe Smith Jr. There was talks about him moving down to 168. I think things are kind of up in the air right now until Canelo figures out his situation. I think Callum Smith could defend his title against Bivol if Smith doesn't get the shot against Canelo. There's just a lot, a lot of things going on here. And it's looking, like he, and he doesn't have the shot with Marcus Brown lined up right now. So he's probably just going to take a stay busy opponent is what I see Bivol doing next. We'll see what happens. Next to number 3, former WBO champion Eleider Alvarez. He hasn't really, he's the WBO's number 5. He was supposed to come back June 15th against Jesse Hart. That fight didn't happen because he got injured in training. So there really is no news on what he's doing next, but he is planning on coming back later this year. So hopefully we hear something. Next, and still number 2, is undefeated WBC champion Alexander Volcik. Another guy, no news on what he's doing next. I think he was under the impression he was getting a shot with Marcus Brown next, but Marcus Brown signed on to face Jean Pascal. So really don't know what he's doing. I'm leaning towards the fact that I think Volcik is going to get a shot with Gilberto Ramirez. I could also see him facing Jesse Hart. I could also see him and Arthur Beterbiev saying, fuck it, let's unify titles. I would love to see that. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully that happens. All those guys are on top rank, so I do think Volcik's going to face one of those guys next. And then finally, still number 1, is the reigning 3-time WBO champion Sergey Kovalev. He last fought in shit, I'm drawing a blank. In February when he beat Eleider Alvarez in that rematch. Right now, he's looks like he's lined up to face Anthony Yarde. He was supposed to fight him this weekend coming up, but that fight got pushed to the side, a purse bid. There was a lot of back and forth on what was going on. They first talked August as the possible date. Now they're talking September. Now Kovalev is said to be in the mix for Canelo next. That Canelo's kind of, because Triple G's pushing back on the site for their fight, he could be moving up to 168, maybe even 175 and challenging Kovalev next. See what happens. But either way, if that doesn't happen, then he's going to be making his mandatory against Yarde next. If that happens, I think he'll get a knockout. But Yarde is a knockout artist too, so you never know. And we just got to wait and see. But that's it, guys. Light heavyweight division. I hope you enjoyed it. True Boxing. Been here with the truth.